Okay, first thing we're going to do is put the tying thread onto the hook, and we're going to measure the distance of the whole hook and break it into 3 pieces thirds. The first tying step goes at the first 1/3, where you put a bump of tying thread onto the hook. And you can make many rounds as you want. You don't have to make many, because what we're going to do is take our lead eyes and lay them on the side of the hook shank and push them till you feel the thread bump. And when you push them till you feel the thread bump, we're going to make what we call a cross wrap, not figure eights. If we figure eight this eye down on here, it's going to loosen the first wrap that you put on, and it's not a very good tightening wrap, but cross wraps are. And we're going to come here from the rear of the eyes over the hook and do it 4 to 5 times. Then we're going to take and place the eyes on top of the hook and reverse this cross wraps from front to back on each side. We're going to do that 2 or 3 different times. And then we're going to, it's good and solid on there. We're going to make what we call a helicopter wrap and go over the hook and under the eyes. And while you're doing that, put some tightness. You see the hook moving? You do that, and them eyes will actually stay in that spot and will not spin around that hook for you. If I was at home or tying flies, I would take a little bit of Zap-A-Gap or something like that and put it on here. Turn the hook upside down, put the glue right here, and glue the threads to the hook shank. You can't glue the eyes to the hook. You got to glue the threads to the hook shank so they don't come loose. Then the next step is going to select a piece of deer hair off of a deer tail. I don't ever say bucktail because this could have been a big doe, who knows. But what we're going to do is select a clump of deer hair, and we have to pull it up away from the shank before we cut it off, like that. And what that does, that has changed every fiber in that bunch into a cylinder, and a lot of the long hairs are in the middle of the cylinder instead of having a cut tapered in. We're going to grab a hold of the butts, and we're going to pull all of the short, immature hairs out of there. Some coming out. Now what we have here, and you guys all know what guard hairs are, they're the adult hair. We have nothing but pretty much even hairs out of that in that whole bundle now because we got rid of the short. And something else that this helps, when you pull all this short hair out of here and you cut the bundle, there's no bulk in here to make a head too big or whatever. It's going to keep everything small. We're going to squeeze this bundle, measure it. That's pretty good size. We're going to squeeze it into an oval and cut it like that. We're going to lay this on the top of the hook, squeeze it, and tilt it down to the hook shank and come right tight against the eyes. Loose wrap and pull it straight up, and then adjust them ends and wrap this down. Okay, we're going to fold it back. We're going to keep it a space between the hook and also the top of the hair is away from the hook. You can stick a thing in here. We're going to bring the tying thread back behind the eyes, make another loose wrap, and while we're lifting up on this, we're going to pull the thread up and pull that down on top of the hook. We're going to fold back 1, 2, 3 times to the 2/3 point, spiral forward till we get the back of the eye and let that hang there. Now, instead of making this thing look like a round bundle of deer hair, we want it to look like a side of a minnow. So we're going to kind of squeeze right here, and that'll broaden that whole clump into something broad and narrow. Okay. Now we're going to bring the tying thread forward. Go to the back of the hook eye. Turn it upside down. And we're going to lay a couple strands of flash in here. Now, years ago when we first tied this, we used to cut it, snip, and tie the ends down, and then get in here with scissors and cut different lengths. We're going to fold this a short piece front, bind it down, a couple turns, all you need. Now we have long and short ends in, and when I get back to the end of the deer hair, I cut this probably a half an inch longer off of there, like that. Now, if you look where the tying thread is hanging, right here, it should be at the halfway point between the eyes and the eye of the hook. And we're going to tie a section on the back of that for the back of the minnow. I want to explain something to you here. When you buy a bucktail at any of the shops, the Clouser Minnow's best hair is from about here to here. That's the section that I work out of. All this hair at the butt of the tail is hollow and flares on you. This is good solid fibers about in here. So don't think that you get a whole lot of deer tails out of one bucktail and have them all look nice. Now we're going to measure this. The back of the minnow, you don't want the hair sticking back past the flash. You want it either as long as the white or a little shorter, like that. That allows all this flash now to move around and things like that. We're going to squeeze this bundle, cut it in an oval. We're going to tilt it on a downward tilt. We're going to make a loose wrap, pull straight up, and wind forward. And there's your tapered head without jamming that whole thing up. And I'm going to whip finish the head off. And I'm going to take it and I'm going to cut the thread off right here. And we're going to add some protectant to this fly. If you look at the fly, you're going to see how wide it is and very sparsely dressed and how narrow it is. Now, I use a Solarez or a 2-part epoxy to seal this whole unit. And if you look here closely, you can see there's an opening between the eyes and the head, the thread head. When you force epoxy back inside this opening, it'll glue the whole head and the eyes to that hook shank. Okay. Now this is Solarez, and it's the only one I use. It's thin. And you have to put it on a couple of steps because this stuff runs and gets saggy. And I'll turn the fly on the side, squeeze it out of the bottle, run it around the eye, in that groove, turn it completely over this way, go down here and over the back of the threads. Go around the eye again. Come on. It's hit the light where the eyes are in the filling. And I want to show you the finished product. That's how you tie the Clouser Minnow.